All right, welcome to the next lecture. Today we're going to see how to create a web services endpoints for Java X web services or JAX-RS. So we stopped at the greeting resource that was generated for us. So we created a bit of UID magic. We created on each, when we go to the /hello on a get, when we do a get method, we have a text that our service gives back via the browser, which is plain text, and we have just a random hello and then UUID each time, right? So we refresh and we have like output. So you might wonder what we can do additionally for it. And so we use a REST easy, and basically it do the same thing that you can do with Java EE or with Spring. Of course, with Spring there is a difference between the annotations. In this case, we have a large get endpoint, and I don't think there is actually any parameters that you can pass here. In Spring, however, you have different type. You have for example, annotation, REST controller, or controller, or like they are basically different. But with Quarkus, you still can use them if you want. It will be in next lectures. And moreover, I can say that you can even use Spring's magic GPA magic with the repositories, which is like the number one reason I like Spring. And you can use it with Quarkus as well. There is like bridges for it. So you can, from our method that we have, you can see that we use a get method for a hello path, and we produce a text, a plain text basically. This media type have different types of the, where are they actually? Different types of the media type that you can use. It's not complete list of them, but it's the most usable. So you have a application JSON, XML, for example, right? Wildcard, and then text XML, text plain, text HTML, which is like the most used. Then we have also octet string, which can be used for, I don't know, passing some data to the output. Multi-part form data, XML, form URL encoded, and that is pretty much most of the, like, it covers like maybe 80% of the endpoints that you can use. So that's the first thing. So you can create different output for them, and moreover, it will not only use the produce, you can also use a consume, which we'll use for different type of endpoint. So yeah, you see that we have a get. What else can we have? And that's a great question, because you can have more of this than just a get. You can have the most like for a REST API, you have a few different types, which is get, post, put, delete for head, and then poach, options, and I don't know, maybe I forgot something. Maybe I don't remember if I said delete, but yeah, that's like the options that you can have. And so one of the second by popularity that you can use is a post. So post is used mostly for something new. If you want to add something to your app, for example, you have users, you'll use a post method, which will create a new user. That's as an example. And then you have a put. For a put, in this case, you can use, for example, to update the users, update some attributes or something like this. So yeah, so we can create a post endpoint for which we'll use a Postman a little bit later. But yeah, let's create a post endpoint. So this time we'll produce media type application JSON, for example, right? And then we also will consume the same media type application JSON. So yeah, let's name our, we can return, in our case, without any converters, let's use a string for now. So, and then, I don't know, add hello, for example, right? I don't know why, but yeah. So yeah, if you put a string here and then put any name A, or in our case, we'll use a body, this would be a body that you'll pass to our Quarkus, the greeting resource. For example, we can also have a query param here, but let's start with the body, right? So let's just give our body back to us. And yeah, so currently we have a post endpoint mapped to the hello. Let's open the postman. I already prepared it. So we have a post hello endpoint, and so we pass a test in our case, right? It's a JSON. Let's try to call a send, and you see that we receive back JSON as well. So what happens if we'll change it to text, for example, right? Let's change it to text, and you'll see that it will show us 415 unsupported media type, which is correct because we're not passing test. It only consumes application JSON, even though the body is application, the body is JSON, but it's marked as text. So it won't accept it unless you specify exactly that it's JSON. What else can we do with it? So as I said, if you put a string param inside the parameters, it will automatically be mapped to the body of the method, right? But you also can specify what you want to get from it. For example, we can put an annotation called query param, and in this case we should specify the name of the param, for example name, right, or something like this. Then we create a string, the parameter itself. I'll call it ename, not because I want to use this type of annotations. I just want to show you that you can, the name of the parameter and then the parameter that you pass to annotation query param is not binded together, so it can be any. So okay, with that in mind, let's see what we created actually, right? So we have the same post method, but in this case we also have a query param called name, and let's actually, I don't know, let's put something like this, key, and then we have a plus a name, plus like this, and like this. So what it will we'll get, we actually can get rid of the body, we don't need it right now. So we'll parse a JSON values later on in future lectures, because right now we're only interested how to cooperate with the REST easy in our case. So what it will do, we'll pass a name parameter when we call the post method, and this name parameter will be returned to us as a JSON with a key, and the value will be ename in our case. Let's see how it works. We don't remember that Quarkus automatically refreshes everything that when you do the endpoint call, so we don't need to restart anything. So you just can completely forget about this terminal unless you have an error or something like this, right? Okay, So let's go to our Postman and call the send method. So what do you think will happen in this case, right? Let's see. So we call a hello method without the parameter, and I want you to show you. So when you call a hello method, in this case it should return to us JSON, which has a key, right, and then something here, right, something, but in our case the name is like null. So, and I think you should we should expect null, right? So let's see our body. Okay, an unsupported type. Sorry, I choose the JavaScript instead of JSON. And of course, yeah, key null. That's exactly what we expected to happen. So let's see if we create a param called name. So we put a name here equals Dmytro, right? My name. And it will give us a key Dmytro. That's a useless actually endpoint or like a service or whatever, but it shows us how you can operate Quarkus. And so yeah, so you have a query param. What else can we have? We also can have a header param. So header param, it actually can have a same name in our case, right? And we can put a string h name, right, for example. So what happens here, right? We have a header param and then a query param, and so they both have a name, but the parameter that you pass to the function can have the same name. That's why we have different name for the arguments, but the argument that you pass to the annotations is the same. And in this case, that's actually a really nice example where you can use a super simple token security, right? So for example, we can create something like public static final string token equals def, right? That's don't do it in most of the cases. Like the first suggestion will be to put this into the parameters and not like the config for the application properties. But yeah, so in this case we have two parameters, and it happens so that we can expect it from either header or query. So in this case you can create a new string called token, which will equal, if h name not equal to null, we can return each name or a name, right? For example, something like this. And then we check if token not equals to null. Oops. In this case, like throw some runtime exception. We won't handle it right now. Okay, yes, of course, new. For example, like this, right? Oops. Yeah, that's like a super simple example. So yeah, let's add our header parameter. Oh, actually not equals to def, so like token equals to this token. If it's not equal, then we will return an exception. That's bad example, but yeah, for simplicity, let's keep it like this, right? And we also put the token here like this. So what should happen right now? Let's remove the parameter which we passed to our endpoint, and let's add a header here called what's it? Token, right? Token. So let's put ABC, for example, right? We send it, and in this case it you give us exception. That's okay, yeah. So if you put a runtime exception, it will show information about it. So you can also visualize. Okay, you can do it right now. Preview. Yeah, so it will be like this. And then you also have it should actually show you exception as well, but somehow it doesn't show you in this view. But yeah, but if we put a dev token here, you can see that it gives us correct response in our case, right? Key dev, as we expect. And we also can match the same token equals dev. If we'll remove this token from here, it still will work because we have a token here, for example, right? So yeah, so that's it. You can also change it to HTML, for example. For what? So you can create a result which will be an HTML, and browser will correctly display it. It's not a good idea to put it like this, but for the example of the for example, basically, I'll show you this example text, right? For example, let's see what we'll get in as a result. So it should show us, I think, don't forget to check where you put your media type. So produces, it's something that it will output, and consumes, it will be something that the function will receive. So that's why it's not, I changed it to produces. Let's see it. So we send our request, and we see that we have a text, bold text, which is exactly what we return. If it was, for example, something like application JSON, right? It will expect the application JSON, but somehow, yeah, it still shows you somewhat correct view, but yeah, but technically it won't be correct. So yeah, so you have a header param, you have a query param, you have a body. What else have we missed? So one thing that we actually missed is a path. So not only you can put a path on the class, you can also use it as an annotation to a method. So in our case, let's create a post which will use a path, which will go like, I don't know, key, right? For example, because we return, oh, okay, actually HTML, I don't know. So once again, we won't use in any application, you won't use a post method to return you I don't know, the HTML without any. Let's actually put it into the get method, because post method is, we don't need it anymore. It was like example, for example, that you can use a post or any other type. So in our case, so what will it do actually? So we have a hello and also have HTML. This will combine and we'll have HTML /hello/HTML. Let's check, right? So we'll get a get method going hello and HTML, and we should receive, yeah, hello and our token. What else have we missed? There is one more thing to a path, which is a path parameter. Let's duplicate our get method and use something like this. I don't know. Let's put it like path param called ID, string ID, something like this, and we'll replace it with hello ID like this. So what we'll do, let's see if it's working actually. 1 2 3 hello 1 2 3. So what is it? Basically, you can have a path, for example, okay, /html slash, for example, 1, right? For if it's 1, you want to have hello 1 in this example, or you can have a switch hello, like your friend number 1, right? So in order to not do like /html/1 and then another endpoint will go /html/2, right? You can have a variable parameter in a path. In our case, it will be ID. It also can go like this. I don't know, HTML ID details, for example, right? Like this. And the path parameter, and you're mapping path parameter to argument that passed to hello function. So in this case, you can see that this won't work anymore because not found. There is no such endpoint. But if we put a /details at the end, you can see that we have hello 1, 2, 3 in our case, or like 3, 4, 5, right? This will show you everything that goes into the path parameter. So with this in mind, you're now equipped with really helpful parameters or annotations that will help you create almost any type of the endpoints. So you now know that you can use get, put, post, delete options, head annotations to create different types of the REST API calls, REST API endpoints. You know that you can use produces and consumes annotations, which will help you to specify what you want to receive and what you want to return as a result. You also have path parameter and the path that you can specify for a method or class, which will specify where you want to route it. After taking this, you also have a path parameter that you can map for a specific dynamic path for handling any dynamic endpoints which you can do. And besides that, you also have a header param and query param. So this will cover you almost all of the basics endpoints, unless one thing that we haven't discussed in this lecture is JSON, but we'll take it in the nearest future. You can see it's also really simple. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next lecture.